The cross is a Christian symbol, and I've seen a few places on the internet where people have suggested that Christians are wearing crosses the same way we'd be wearing electrical chairs or some other device of torture, and really challenging why Christians wear the cross at all, why we have anything to do with something that is a death provider. So I want to unpack that a little bit today. The cross that we have is indeed about death. There's no way to get around that. But the reason we use it is not because we glorify death, it's because we glorify what happened after death. Jesus did not stay dead. He resurrected. That's why we have the cross as our symbol, because death, political death that he suffered, the most egregious, painful, nasty, public profile death that they could think of in the Roman era, was not enough to shut Jesus and his followers down. That's why we wear the cross. And there's two general versions of the cross in Western society. There's a third when you look at the Orthodox. I don't have an example of that, but I'll explain that to you. The first is this. It's called a crucifix. A crucifix has the body of Jesus on it. Now, this is an Irish crucifix. Now, notice how short the arms are? This was so that Irish folks could shove it up their arm, up their sleeve really quickly, so no one could see it. I don't know all the history behind that, but it's kind of an interesting thing. But those who wear the crucifix or have the crucifix around are remembering Good Friday, or God Friday, as it's better translated, and the darkness of that day, and how desperate we were for good news and for something to change the outcome of Jesus' death. The other cross we see is often just a plain cross. This is, there's no special name for this. This symbolizes, the empty cross symbolizes Easter morning, that there's no one on the cross. The cross is empty. Jesus has risen. So both crosses are completely legit. You'll find some churches prefer the empty cross, some churches prefer the crucifix. Now, if you're looking at Orthodox, you might see a cross sometime with a bar, an angled bar across the bottom. That usually is Orthodox. So if you see a cross on the top of a church with a bar on the feet, that usually represents an Orthodox church. We don't wear these to celebrate death. We wear these to celebrate life, that Jesus was resurrected, that the promise is that we're all going to have a bodily, physical resurrection at the end. Now, not necessarily the bodies we have now, because those will rot and decay, and all sorts of bugs will feast when we finally die. Every one of us will. But that we are raised with Jesus to be new beings in new clothing and new awareness. So the cross is a symbol of hope. It is not a symbol of death. Christians are not hung up on how Christ died. They're hung up on the fact that he lived again. Now, a little bit on Christ's death itself, especially if this is going to become more pertinent as we go towards Good Friday. Jesus died a political death. He died the most hideous death that the Romans provided. There's some argument as to whether he died hanging on a tree or whether he died with a wooden cross in the ground. Scholars aren't in agreement with that, because there's evidence that both styles of crucifying happened. So the Roman centurions and the officials would nail someone to a tree and leave them there, and that was a political death. That was a crucifixion. Whereas in Calvary, where Jesus was died, it might be more formalized. So there would have been a wooden item that he hauled with him, which, I mean, can you imagine hauling your own form of death? That's pretty low. But he hauled with him, and it got planted like a fence post in the ground, and he was crucified on that. Interestingly, this death was not allowed to happen for Roman citizens. No Roman citizen could be crucified. This was saved for political enemies, for people who wanted to overthrow the power of Rome, which Jesus did. So if you get reading through the Acts of the Apostles and the letter of Paul, you'll see he claims that he is a Roman citizen, that his father, I think, was Roman. So he was not able, he was not available to be crucified. He had to be killed another way, and he was. But yeah, it's totally political. And we as Christians wear this cross to show that none of that has power. That Jesus overcame all the nastiest things the Roman government could think of, and our religion flourished. We wear the cross. It's kind of the symbol of who we are and what has been done for us, and it's something we should wear in pride.